Another God moment with Goodman. That's Jason Goodman.
Lord.
Happened this time. I was in church and, trying to pay attention. Trying. And I got a text. I felt my phone vibrate. That's probably part of the problem. I shouldn't have my phone in there. And I was like, what? What does Jason want? And he says, well, I learned that we should think about sacrificing our kids today at church. So that's cool. Then he goes, less evidence. I mean, who the hell is this Abraham guy anyway? And I am like trying everything I can do to stop laughing in church.
Really?
What got me was, the first part was funny, like, oh, so that's cool. But when you're like, I can see Jason like, yeah, who the hell is Abraham?
Yeah, who's this guy?
Abraham.
Who does he think he is?
I still don't really know.
So
I love it.
you're referring to the story where Abraham was asked to sacrifice his son Isaac.
Yeah, basically, I don't know the whole thing. I just started really paying attention when I thought for a second sitting there, are they trying to influence us to sacrifice something? Then I was like, sacrifice an animal?
Yeah.
Wait, sacrifice our own kids? And I'm looking around like,
Did I hear that
I'm
right?
looking over there, I'm like, I know that guy's like a doctor. So he's got to be somewhat stable. Is he not hearing what I'm hearing? Seriously. I'm like, look at all these noble people in church. I'm like, are you hearing this? And then I look at Carol's like, this is what you keep bringing me to. And now look what happens today. They're talking about sacrificing kids. That was the interpretation.
Yeah. And then you're thinking, which kid is it going to be?
Who? This is where your influence from Jared on agenda seeps in and I think ruins you a little bit. Like you naturally assumed, are they? Now they're up there trying to tell me that I need to sacrifice my children. Assume there's an ulterior motive.
Yeah.
Well, see, so when you go to the place that I go to sometimes, there is usually a good message. Almost every time. There's a good message, and then the religious aspect is like kind of a near tangent is flowing along with it. This particular thing was explaining a story about
Isaac.
some guy named Abraham, which I've never heard of in my life because I've never been to church before.
Yeah.
And I was like, so you're telling me that this guy had to trust God, because he's trusting anybody, that he was going to go so far is to sacrifice his children. Now, that also led to that you still have to sacrifice, right? The only little difference is that he said basically that Jesus has already sacrificed himself for God, so we don't have to do that anymore. Is that correct?
Correct.
But we still have to sacrifice to live.
Well, I mean, like sacrifice, like you give up certain things. That's sacrifice. Things that you want or
yeah,
like.
go without.
Yes.
Yeah.
But it just for me, when I look at it, I'm like, okay, so this is the story that happened, and about some 90-year-olds that got pregnant, by the way. That seems impossible,
yeah.
too.
That would have been a reality TV show about that
Some
TV
way older than that too.
Is that Abraham? No, his wife.
Back in his day.
Who's
yeah.
the wife of Abraham?
Oh, there were many.
She had multiple.
Okay.
See, they say give Mormons a hard time for, at one point we did. Abraham all through the Bible.
All the older men in the
Yeah.
Bible. Yes,
Yeah.
live until like 900. Of course you have multiple wives.
Yeah.
Of course they have multiple husbands.
Well, I think sometimes we see that story, and no offense, Jared, that we see the story.
Am I the only Christian in here? Katie's a Christian.
Clearly.
Squid's a Christian.
Clearly.
Matt's a certified online pastor.
Yes.
That's right.
Squid's mother is a pastor.
Right.
Right. But what I think sometimes we do is we take the story that came from wherever it came from, and I guess this is the Bible.
Yeah.
Okay. So we take the story that's in the Bible, and you know how they say there's all these different interpretations,
Sure.
like maybe Jared's church is a little bit different of interpretation of Katie's church and wherever. I think at this particular story is, well, this doesn't look good, so we got to interpret a story to make it seem somewhat logical. And
Or
it
they
isn't
would
that
just-
logical to me.
Or they just leave the story out. If they really didn't like it, they just take the story out.
Well, it's not that logical to me.
Well, no, it's symbolic. A lot of stuff, I'm not saying that didn't happen. I'm not saying the actual thing didn't happen. But a lot of things are in gospel type things. I think even other religions are symbolic.
Yes.
So the symbolism was Abraham is like God, and his son Isaac was like Jesus, and Jesus is being sacrificed for everybody. Or you can take it other ways as well.
Well, and the way I take it, the interpretation is that you should be so trusting in God. Because Abraham didn't know that God was going to stop.
But exactly.
He trusted in him, had faith in him so much that he was willing. Now, you're right, sacrificing your child, these days, not cool. But, and I don't think it was
Totally
cool
not
back
cool.
then either. He didn't want to, but it was
Kinda
like,
chuggy.
but you should be
Abraham is being so
so
chuggy.
cheeky. The message is put all of your faith in God. That is the overall message to me.
Well, and it's simple.
I get that.
Yes, and he will
But why?
provide.
I don't think that's a good logical thing that, back in the day, you're just going to trust somebody that says they're God.
No. You don't just trust somebody. And by the way,
Abraham was a prophet, by the way.
yeah, you and I, Jason, have there was a lot of things. I know that there, and I'm not going to step on any toes here because I know that there are lots of religions that do go verbatim by the book, and that's the religion and that's the way they go. I do not. I think it is all open to interpretation, and we have to make it work for us.
We have to interpret it so it doesn't look ridiculous.
I
that
mean,
we're
a
about
lot
to
of ridiculous
sacrifice.
things happen, though. Like in history, people would just chop off your head if they didn't like
Well,
you.
no,
We don't do it now.
Here's my point.
Right,
he
that's
said
true.
that before this Abraham guy came along, that there were other gods that people were sacrificing animals and
Yes.
lives to. But those guys, they trusted those guys, but that didn't happen. But this particular God now is when he was going to sacrifice his own kid.
Like the God.
Yeah, I mean, how
Almighty.
did you know at what point it is?
His faith.
So, Jason, I do know you, and we all know you fairly well. Did you pick a kid that if it came down to it?
I got in the car. See,
Who was it?
Carol was.
Let's see who knocks Father's Day out of the park.
Carol always bugs me to go,
Uh-huh.
and I try to put consideration on it.
That's nice.
But when we go to the church, she also picked up the neighbor's kid, who was Everly's age. When I got in the car and I opened the door, and I turned and I said, "Kids, we're gonna do a sacrifice tonight." Carol was like, "Stop! That's not what happened." I'm like, "Really? That's basically it. What happened is now we don't do that because we realize, ooh, that's wrong. But we did sacrifice lives
No,
over religion.
we did not.
And they did not.
Humans did.
In the Bible, though. They did not. Like, Christians did not sacrifice.
He's about to.
Yeah, but it's like it's supposed to be a story that's faith promoting, like hey, it's
Yeah.
about faith and symbolism. They also did in the Old Testament. They used to sacrifice their the first lamb.
Yes.
Yeah.
It had to be a perfect lamb without blemish, and that was symbolic of the Savior that had not come yet. That is the first begotten Son of Jesus or of God, who was perfect.
Well, that
without
night-
blemish. Symbolism.
That night, I kind of did want to sacrifice Landon because he was getting my nerves so much. And I was just going to be like, well, if the cops came, I'd be like, the church told me.
And then you would go
The church
away.
told me.
Can't wait to see you on TV screaming that.
The church told me.
Is he a modern day prophet or insane?
Insane. And then we'd follow you on court TV.
Jason Goodman or Abraham.
We would check in with Julie Grant, who's following your trial.
It'd be like it'd be called the Abraham murders. The Abraham murders.
It was a little different approach because a lot of times when they talk in church, they talk about things that Christians believe that is because of God, but it's also the right way to live your life. It's a more, say you take the religious aspect
It's
out of
moral.
it. It is a good way of living. You're
Sure.
doing, you're kind, you're
Right. That's
you're
the point.
accepting,
Yeah.
you're helping, and all that other stuff.
The moral of that story for you, Jason, is that you should be willing to lay down for God, that you are putting all of your faith into Him. That is the moral of your story. I mean, right? Is
yeah,
that,
yeah,
I mean,
well,
that's my moral of the
Yeah.
story.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not that trusting,
Okay.
so.
All right.
And I will say this. One of the other aspects was this was the first time, and I've been there lately about 5 times, and they were talking about.
They're gonna get that tithing soon.
Yeah, see that they
Write that
started
fact
mentioning
check.
if you would like to give.
They didn't just start. They've been mentioning it for years before you got there.
I blocked that out.
They
It's not
didn't just
new.
start
You know
because
that
you're there.
basket they pass around?
No, there's no basket.
You don't have a basket?
No, everything's like
Oh.
digital
Online?
and online.
We have
and-
baskets in the Catholic Church.
Really?
You can do online too, but like you gotta make sure that everybody sees you put that envelope into the basket.
Oh,
what
yeah.
You know
if
what I'm
somebody
saying?
pretends to put it in and pulls it out?
You
If
go
you're-
straight to hell.
If you know magic, you could definitely
Sleight of
Well,
hand.
yes, exactly. And they were talking about the percentages of the people. That's why I asked you later. I guess you never got the message, Jared. After I was upset about Abraham, I
much
asked
in
you
one day.
how the percentage of people that donate, and I noticed that they, for some reason, has the statistic that 40% of people that go to that church don't donate a thing.
Like
Nothing.
that church in particular,
Well,
or the
there's-
whole.
I think because there's two
summit.
locations.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think as a whole, they
Got
just
it.
know that 40% don't. And then there was doing these little levels. It doesn't call out people. It didn't know how many people did
I
what.
would like to see names.
But it was. I was like, please don't put names
It's like,
up on there.
Jason Goodman, top of the list.
0.
But he's there for every free activity.
And T-shirt.
I was just
Landon, go play basketball. You play basketball. We're not
does
donating
moving
a
in the
cent.
park count? By the way, that your daughter was there. I don't know if that's
Y'all were just
rubbing
like-
religion the wrong way, but
Once I found out, I told her, you get out of there right away. No, they're like the host of it. I mean, they're like the sponsor
yeah,
of it.
they do that a lot. I was almost going to say, she's not part of this church. She's Mormon. We trying to do something here. Anyway, so there's different levels. They're like, they take these steps. And then there's some people that occasionally donate something.
Yeah.
And then there's some people that donate just once. And there's all these levels. And then it went to and then there's the choice of God of donating 10%.
Yeah.
I'm like, holy hell.
Yeah.
10%?
Well, we know you're rich then.
No, but 10%?
Yes.
I would have to go on welfare. Literally 10%.
Isn't that is what tithe means?
Means 10.
Yeah.
And then there's the ultra generous people that donate well above beyond the 10%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I came to the realization in my head is like,
You're going to start your own church.
You can make
I
some
thought
bank.
about
He
that.
You can make some
No,
bank.
He would.
Called the brother in tithing.
Oh, and then let Jason Goodman, who's the head of his own church, find out that someone's not donating. There would be a bulletin every
Yes,
day.
there would be. I would put the name right up. No, but I will say
Sister
that.
Wilkins doesn't pay a dime.
Because
If I can direct your attention to the board, here's their photo.
She didn't bring anything.
And I drove by their house last night. Do you know where they live?
And then he'd have like balance, like Squid. He'd hire Squid. Squid, escort her out. The return on investment is not good with Sister Jenkins.
Well, I will say this. I've realized that I have to give a little bit, but not because of the Lord.
Got you.
Maybe Kate, my wife, feels that way.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think she goes because she wants to feel better about herself, but I don't know. I think everybody there is the
Isn't
same
that
thing.
why a lot of people go to
Yeah,
church?
we're
Is
there
to be
'cause
to be better?
We're
I
broken.
think, I don't know, but there's a lot to that. But anyway,
Okay.
You got to think of church, and I've said this before. You got to think of church. It is not a showroom. It's not like
No.
a car showroom where you're like, look how fancy I am.
right.
It's a repair shop. We're all
That's a
there.
good
We're
one.
all broken down.
Mm.
And, some of us.
Like
you know,
Jared's Tesla.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes, exactly. Some of
twice.
us need a new transmission. Some of us just need a little tweak here and there.
Well, the church says that even Jesus says, or God, or one of the two, says you should be, that's part of it is giving back and donating
Yes.
money, actual money back, which is hard for me to fathom.
because that's a true sacrifice because the world is money.
Yeah.
That's what they tell you.
Yeah, it's not a. Sure.
Yeah.
And make you feel better. Not that we're jumping around a little bit, but make you feel better. The first time I heard the Abraham and Isaac story, my BH was real tight.
Yeah.
Oh,
I was like,
yeah.
oh, this
Yeah.
seems weird.
It's a little
I don't know.
And I
overwhelming.
didn't know how it ended. And I was like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh.
I was
I'm
very
like,
uncomfortable.
But why? But then as you get older and you're like, oh, I get the whole, like Katie was saying.
Very
Yeah.
uncomfortable.
different meanings and stuff. Yeah.
I thought I was watching like a movie on Netflix almost, the way it was being
Yeah.
described. I was like, what the hell is happening here?
And I think at that church, that's how they do it, right?
Yeah.
Like it's like a movie on Netflix.
Yeah.
Isn't it? Don't you have big
No, no,
screens
no.
and stuff?
Yeah, big
Well,
screens.
we do have
and
big
technology.
screens,
Yeah,
but
they do. Yeah.
It depends on where the main guy is that it comes in line.
The pastor.
Well,
main guy.
there's one main guy for both.
Okay.
Do you see him saying he's very good? Speaking wise, in entertainment level, great. I was intrigued. It was great.
Give him an
But then
A.
realizing, like, wait a minute, this is real life here, sacrificing. Hello. But the money thing, I said, you know what? The reason why I'll donate some is because of the program itself. Take the religious aspect out of it.
Oh.
The program itself and the operational costs.
They got bills.
Yeah. When I'm looking at everything going on and all the programs and what we're doing and how they're doing, and so I think it's a good cause on that level, but not because the Lord told me to.
Okay. Well, have you heard the
Good. Yeah,
story,
don't,
Jason?
Don't let God help you.
I
Yeah.
figured this out for myself.
He's the only one.
Yeah.
I want to do it.
Have you heard the story where Jesus was telling those around him, if you can donate, what you donate? And there was a very rich man. Do you
Yeah,
remember
there
this
was.
one? The very, very, very wealthy man who came and gave however much he gave. And everyone, right? And then there was a very poor, old, feeble woman who came and in the collection put just two, silver
I think they
to
call
gold
mites,
coins.
but yeah, it's a form of currency.
Yeah.
It's all for money.
And Jesus said, she has given more than the wealthy man.
Then I'm not giving anything.
She gave all that she had.
Yeah.
She gave all that she had.
And that same rich ruler was like, I'll do anything to follow you. He said, well, give up all your possessions and follow me.
Nope.
And he was like, I'm good.
Yeah.
Of course.
He got, went back to his fancy neighborhood in Oak Ridge.
Yep, driving his fancy ass car.
No.
Connellsville.
No.
This
but
fancy ass donkey.
Do you think you should give up everything?
Supposed to.
Well, maybe you should raise yours, Jared, a little bit. Let's go 20% for you.
I'm
That's
already
not the
doing
rule.
10.
It's not the
That's
rule.
not what tithe means. Whatever 20 means in a different language. I don't know.
Give what you can.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jason.
Mm-hmm.
You've come a long way. They're going to get you. You're going to be an associate pastor at some point.
Oh yeah.
Let me know. I'll come watch you.
No.
When
I'm
you're up there
I'm
preaching.
still agnostic.
It's going to go one of two ways. It is either going to be
One extreme?
he's the head of his own church, or it is the Abraham murders.
Yeah.
It's like the Abraham sacrifice. Who the hell is Abraham anyway?
And just so I'm prepared in case I have to go back.
Yeah.
Is there any more stories like this?
Slots.
Or is this the main one that you're like,
How much time you got?
no, I don't want to hear it, but I just want to be prepared when I have to hear it, that there might be something that I'm like, come on.
What
Old
about the
Testament-
lion's den?
Oh, yeah, Daniel and the Lion's
You know about
Den.
the lion's den?
No.
Okay.
Who the hell is this Daniel guy?
Hold on to your hat.
I think last week they were talking about some kind of serpent or snake that talked, and I'm like, okay.
Cain and Abel?
I don't
Oh,
know.
yeah, I guess that's one of the first.
Oh, yeah.
Cain
ones.
and
yeah.
Abel, you know about that?
Is this the one in the
Brothers?
The
Adam and Eve's.
The Adam and Eve. That's
Yeah.
it, the
Okay.
tree and like, don't touch this tree. These fruits are the best. You can't touch that fruit. Really, I'm starving to death. I would like to have a fruit. Whatever.
Jason knows.
I'm starving to death.
I just want that apple. It's so juicy and delicious.
He goes, and is there, so there's like a talking snake, right?
I don't know.
Well,
Well,
Yes, I
Satan.
think there is.
Well, Satan, yeah, they said his serpent, the symbolism, all that
Yeah.
stuff.
Mhm.
Beguiled Eve, tricked Eve, but what she did actually helped bring forth mankind.
Look at that.
Some people blame Eve. Some religions blame
We
her.
didn't have to, we shouldn't have to start it on like this deception and deceiving.
No,
Why
we
are-
should, because then that's you're set up for how the world really is.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Why did God make the world like that?
He didn't make the world
Deception
like
and
that.
He didn't.
Deceiving.
just
He
knows
did not.
humans are
Are flawed.
Well,
flawed.
he didn't make the best first decision, in my opinion.
Who, God?
Well, he wasn't prepared. If God existed, he wasn't prepared because then he's like, oh gosh, I have to send my son down here for that sacrifice.
They already knew
for
that
everybody
Yeah.
ahead
else.
of time.
Eh,
Okay.
it's much bigger than that.
Oh, I know you figured it out because you just figured out who Abraham kind of
No,
is.
I just think it's way bigger.
What is way bigger?
Way bigger. We can't even fathom it.
But if he's all knowing, he's had a plan from the beginning. He's not like us where it's just like
We just
Can
wing
you
it.
stop trying to preach to me, Jared?
He's bigger than religion, though. He's bigger than religion.
Mhm.
that's enough. That's you've really now you're offending people.
Amen, I say to you.
Oh, and speaking of 10%, Young Dolph, one of his bars,
Oh,
sold 100 pounds,
God.
gave 10% to the pastor. Preach.
Me and Squid are now young Dolph fans.
Yes.
I introduced Squid to Dolph.
Okay.
R.I.P. Anyway, we'll share that weird exchange where we started sharing like our favorite rap back and forth. It was
Yeah.
very odd.
was
We had a
great.
2-hour trip together in the car.
Jared's like, Weird Al for me.
Yeah, now, Weird Al did cover Mace and Puff Daddy back in the day. You want to hear this? All about the Pentiums. Have you heard that one?